Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and a game between mousesports Hasu versus fnatic's KawaiiRice. Now, KawaiiRice trying to put themselves, or trying to put Fnatic into the win column right now. Currently they are behind 2-0 or 0-2 against mousesports. Now, if you guys don't know the tournament layout, it is the two teams that have the most number of wins that gets to move on. So even if one team does win 3 out of the 5 matches, the rest of the matches will still be played just because I hope you do good in TSL. So KawaiiRice telling Hasu that he hopes he does good in TSL. So yeah, a little bit of nice manner there. And well, top 4. Oh, very, very good so far there. So we are now going to have KawaiiRice spawning as the yellow Terran player over here at the 6 o'clock position. Meanwhile, over here at the 12 o'clock position, we have Hasu spawning as the red Protoss. And apparently, Hasu, I guess his hardest matchup is against Terran. KawaiiRice in game 1 on Shakura's Plateau did a really good job of just constant pressure, a lot of macro, and then never relenting with his army. KawaiiRice just won a war of attrition, recreating units, attacking, recreating units, and attacking time and time again. Hasu able to fend off attack after attack with smaller and smaller forces, but eventually the war of attrition was just too much. We need to have the campaign ability. KawaiiRice, I don't know what campaign, parachute bio anywhere we want to balance TVP. Marauders without stim hack, you mean? Anyways, we are now going to be they were so bad. All right, so an SCV now making their way out, and apparently everyone joining in the balance talks of how to improve Terran versus Protoss, as now the game will get underway. A Marine already on the ramp. Now Terminus Ray is a rather large map as well. So it does make sense that both players should be trying to do a more expansion play, but very interestingly enough, we are getting a factory. So KawaiiRice looks to be doing the 1-1-1 build instead of any sort of fast command center. The Marine now making their way out, and just missed sight of the probe the other side. This Marine needs to position itself over here. No, there's going to be a third Marine that comes in. And wow, that one Marine just got trained. The other two did all the work and all the trekking in order to try to get the kill, and no, this new Marine, this fresh recruit, gets it instead. SCV going to be able to wander up the ramp in just a moment. The Zealot will not be able to catch up, and we are getting a Stalker first this time. So Stalker first instead of the Sentry first here on Terminus Ray, as we are going into a robotics facility. It looks as though both players, instead of doing a heavy macro style of game with a lot of expanding, instead going for a very tech-heavy game. We are getting this command center here, but even if both players are going to be going for a tech-heavy game, I expect a Nexus and a command center both to be built by the 8-minute portion of this particular matchup. We are getting some siege tanks, no siege tech just quite yet. Not quite sure why. We may be seeing a starport at some point, and he's also slowing down the Marine production. It looks as though KawaiiRice now going to build his command center now, and slowing down his Marine and siege tank production with no siege tech, but able to keep up with his SCV production. Meanwhile, it looks as though Hasu going to be setting up an expansion in just a moment as well, making sure to make a good use of this probe's time. The probe doesn't have enough minerals just quite yet. Now just going to sit there and wait, and then be able to warp in that Nexus in just a moment. SCV finishing off the wall in here as the siege tanks don't have siege tech, and we are also going into a starport. So very interesting that KawaiiRice did this. This is something I don't normally see, but the early siege tank is there to set up against early stalkers because there's no tech lab on the barracks. The early Marines are good against the Zealots, but they're not nearly as good against those stalkers. The stalkers, siege tanks with even out of siege mode, are very effective for 2 reasons. One, they attack, or 3 reasons. One, they attack faster. 2, they have better range. And thirdly, they have more hit points, so they are able to win out against a Stalker in that long distance war. They don't, they have the same amount of hit points, 160 over 180, 80. But I guess that base 1 armor does help a little bit more since shields don't provide any armor early on. We are going to be getting an early Raven. Okay, so an early Raven off of this in order to clean up any observers that are going to be inside the base, and you can see that that observer is in fact over there. And the Raven was able to spot it for just a moment. The Observer, realizing this, needs to run away as quickly as possible. There's the Observer, but unable to catch it as another Observer sitting over here. So 2 early Observers already in play, and now going into Thors. Okay, so KawaiiRice being a very, very cute player now, going for Thors. Siege tanks and marines here on Tournament Ray. Thors are a rather slow unit, so that does confuse me just a little bit. That is not something that you see normally by any means. But with the Thor and level 2 Terran plating, that Thor will be taking a significantly reduced damage from those zealots, absorbing, I believe, 4 damage per round of attack. So instead of doing 16 damage, dealing 16 dealing 12 damage. Yes, I can do math. And now also getting an additional refinery. Back here, we may be getting Banshee Thor. That would look to be the current style that KawaiiRice would be going for. Thor does take 1 base worth of gas, unless another factory is going to be built. We may have double Thors. So double Thors could be trained up in just a moment, as the Observer now was able to spot this expansion here. Both players sitting inside their bases and waiting and simply waiting to see what the other player will be doing. So a Raven is on the move. The Raven does have a decent amount of energy. And this is one of those versions of Tournament Ray that does not have a set of destructible rocks that leads into this particular low ground expansion. So, yep, these maps look so similar 99% of the time that I don't catch everything. Anyways, Observer is over here and over here as well. There is a Hellion just sitting back, activating the Zonaga Watchtower, able to keep track of a very large army. And, I wonder if Hasu is going to overestimate his sentries. Sentries are generally very powerful against the Terran army, as they're able to split up the Marines and the Marauders. But that is obviously not the case when you're dealing with Thors. Thors are massive units that are able to break through force fields just by stepping through them, as the Hellion now quickly runs back home. I'm not sure if the vision of mousesports' Hasu has actually seen a Thor just quite yet, but that is going to be something to keep track of. We do have an armory in play. There is a Raven nearby, and another thing to note is a Thor can almost destroy an Observer in 1 round of attack. I believe it does 48 damage. 48 of the necessary 60 damage in order to shoot down an Observer. The Observers do not have any armor at all. And now, going into Thor Hellion with the Blue Flame research. Okay, so this is very interesting indeed. Blue Flame research on Hellions. So it is going to be Hellions in order to counter the Zealots, and then Thors to counter and absorb damage and try to beat up everything else. We are also getting Vikings in the air, so the Vikings, I guess, are there to counter the Void Rays, as Thors have a very difficult time against Void Rays. Void Rays deal additional damage against massive units, and because they are also light units, take very little damage from the slow attacking Thor. Also, the point defense drone from a Raven does not intercept the damage from a Void Ray as well, so that is another reason why the Ravens are not nearly as supportive as, say, a bunch of SCVs in that particular instance. Army-wise, you can see about a 4,000 resource army against 3,100. Income-wise, KawaiiRice more than in the lead with about 300 resources total. We are getting more harvesters by Hasu, but Hasu needs to take another expansion at some point. And it is very difficult to take an additional expansion. Perhaps this is the easiest expansion to take, and it does look like that is going to be the case, where Hasu does want to try to expand here. And both players haven't really engaged each other yet. It's going to be a large, massive war as the Templar Archives now researching that Psystorm. We should be seeing some High Templars already in the field. As they are in the field, they're able to collect energy. Yeah, there you go. There's 4 High Templars sitting there. Colossus popping out of the robotics facility. And now the Thors are looking very, very happy. And we are getting the 250mm strike cannons, folks. If KawaiiRice actually uses the 250mm strike cannon effectively, I will be very, very happy. The 250mm strike cannon has a rather short range. So if you're trying to fight up against a group of Colossi, normally the Colossi are actually able to kill a Thor before the Thor is able to get within combat range and actually fend off the attack there. So the Colossi, there are, what, 5 Colossi there. There is the extended thermal lance range. The High Templars are not going to be able to feed back the Thors, though. So the High Templars will only be able to Psystorm them, and we'll see what will be happening in just a moment. Zealots are out, and the High Templars are now getting a feedback onto the Raven, and the Raven, that is an issue as the Hellions and the Vikings, both sides are trying to battle it out. Vikings going straight after those Colossi there. SCVs are engaging siege tanks, and all of the Thors are just simply attack moving, and what these Colossi are not able to do all that much. The Vikings just shooting down multiple units. There is Psystorm across multiple Vikings, and a lot of damage is being dealt, but the 250mm strike cannon able to finish off some of those stalkers and then taking down some of the cannons as well before the cannons are able to finish it off. And wow, a massive army of Thors. SCVs hanging around going, hey, we should probably be repairing, but this is just too funny to watch as the Thors are now going to continue this push. We can see 1 Colossus there, but it's just the sheer army size. SCVs should just be on auto repair. Not quite sure why they are not, as the Thor with 3 armor able to absorb a lot of damage there. The Zealots are not trying to fight back. Archon now getting within range, but not able to do all that much either. And now that Archon is going to get destroyed there. Vikings are just going to go after Colossus as the Stalkers blink away. And there's the game by mousesports. So Hasu losing 2-0 to KawaiiRice. Game 1, a very, very impressive macro battle with a lot of infantry and medevacs and Vikings. Game 2, KawaiiRice opting to not use stimmed Marauders and winning the game with just Thors, Hellions, and Vikings, and doing a great job, I must say. So yes, fnatic able to put, or KawaiiRice able to put a win, put 1 in the win column for fnatic, as he does take take this best of 3 series. I will be putting up a an anti-spoiler video of a game I just played, just so that you guys can see my thought process, and hopefully it will become more of a strategy video as I'm explaining my thought process during the game. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and I hope you guys are enjoying this clan war so far. Don't forget to leave comments, tweet about it, let your friends know. The more views I get, the better it is, and the more often I can run these types of tournaments for you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this particular game between mousesports' Hasu and fnatic's KawaiiRice.